Hey, everybody, this is Don again, and it is time for episode 54 of Practical Reality. It's a Saturday afternoon, just shy of 5 o'clock. You can see out the window here that it's a relatively warm, sunny day. I wanted to get out to the park today, but oh man, the day just flew by and I was busy all afternoon. So I'm just sitting here in the living room with this nice sun coming in the window here, big house plant behind me, just hanging out. Going to record this video, and today's topic we're going to talk about is trust the process and the inevitability of change and how you view change in your life. And you know, it's funny, I know that most people fear change and are apprehensive about making changes in their life, and it's usually because they're stuck in the way that they usually do things. And certainly at my age, at 64 years old, you know, some people at my age will view change as, you know, very scary, or they wonder why they have to change at all because they've been doing this something the same way for 40 years. Well, I don't look at things that way. And, you know, it's funny, my favorite TV show, The Big Bang Theory, makes a big joke out of change. You know, the main character, Sheldon Cooper, he hates change. And they always make a big joke out of how much he hates change. But if you watched that show over a number of years, you will notice that Sheldon went through a lot of changes in his life. So, and he fought them just about every inch of the way. But he actually went through them. And in the end, even though some of them were hard, and of course they make a joke out of it, like I said, he actually benefited greatly from those changes. And he became a person that was easier to speak to and had a better and more full life. And of course, at the end of the show, he won a Nobel Prize, which is really doesn't have anything to do with change, but it just shows the development of his character over a long period of time, and change was a huge part of that. Now, of course, you can say to me immediately, "Oh, that's just a TV show," you know, and fine, I accept that it is just a TV show, but most TV shows like that last and have a good character development, a lot of changes involved in a show like that. The way they write the characters changes, the way that the events of their lives make changes in their lives, and they have a positive message. Any show, as far as I'm concerned, that's worth watching has a positive message to it, okay? But shows like that take their inspiration and their ideas from real life situations. So it's not necessary to be apprehensive about change, and you don't necessarily have to have like a cynical view of a show like this that puts its characters through a lot of changes, because I think they're taking their ideas from, you know, characters in real life. And in the vast majority of cases, change leads to growth, and we all know that growth is uncomfortable. It's one of the most common cliches out there. You know, you can't grow without moving out of your comfort zone. So if you can accept the inevitability of change, then you are lowering your resistance to change, and you'll inevitably be more adaptable to change and end up being a happier person in the end. And when you talk to people about the changes you are going through, what's the one thing that they almost always say? I see it on LinkedIn all the time. 3 words: trust the process. Now, I've heard that so many times in so many different contexts that it's become like a cliche. Trust the process. You hear it all the time. What does it actually mean? And I think it's one of those things that it has become a cliche, so everybody is going to attach a different meaning to it. You can ask 100 people what it means, and you're going to get 100 different answers. So therefore, the message behind trust the process becomes completely diluted. And then, of course, you're going to have the people out there who are going to attach sort of a religious meaning to it. Like, you know, trust the process means God is working in your favor, or, you know, let God do his work within you, that kind of thing. But to me, that's not a proper response, not a proper interpretation of trust the process. Because that gives, to me, that's like an escape route, okay? If you are trusting the process and letting God do his work and things don't work out or you don't like what happens, then you have God there to blame. You know what I mean? As like you're out. So to me, trust the process means something different. To attribute it to God in my opinion, devalues the experience of the change and the benefits that come from it. So when I think of the phrase trust the process, I think of being persistent, of having that stick-to-itiveness, of not allowing the external environment to influence my decision or my determination, of not letting my ego just dictate how I feel, because we all know the ego resists change as much as possible. Ego is the force of the status quo. Now, I like to view it this way for a couple of different reasons. Number one, any change that you're going through, no matter how difficult it might seem at the time, is usually going to end up being beneficial for you at some point. There's another cliche out there that says, what does not kill you makes you stronger. And I believe there is some truth to that. But we're not here to interpret that today. Number two, the change you are going through is causing changes to your body and your mind. The point of self-development is self-improvement. The resistance to change is ultimately a futile exercise. If you can learn to embrace what you are going through and adopt a positive attitude, then the change definitely becomes less difficult. I can personally attest to the fact that I have been through some changes which for me were extremely difficult at the time, but ultimately led me to the person I am sitting here right now. And as I look back on those changes, I can remember them being very difficult, but they have led me to who I am, as I said right now, and I'm happy with the person that I am. So once you adopt a positive attitude towards change, then you realize that you're on a journey that never ends. Change is the only constant in life. If you're going to achieve the objectives you set for yourself, whether they be personal, professional, or monetary, or anything else, you're going to have to change to achieve them. To become an enlightened spiritual individual who is in control of their external environment and ignores the external factors being thrown at them every day, you're going to have to change. And that change requires rewiring your brain to eliminate the influence of the negative and limiting thoughts that have been dwelling in your subconscious after years and years and years of being reinforced. Now, that might seem quite difficult, but it's also very possible as a result of something known as neuroplasticity. When you can accept this process of development, then change becomes a proactive process where you actively seek out the change and do work on yourself on a daily basis to bring yourself into the mindset that allows you to attract the outcomes you desire in life. And once you're able to achieve that state of mind and rewire your subconscious, then the things that used to knock you off your course become insignificant and laughable. That's when you know that you've increased your inner strength and resilience. And the only reason that people don't continue on that course is because they don't think it's possible, or because they don't see the changes immediately. They want instant gratification. But you must realize that the changes that occurred within you to make you the person you are now took place over, like I said, years and years and years. So to eradicate or rewire your subconscious, it's going to be a process that will take time. Now, hopefully it won't take years and years and years again, but it will take time. And that is a process you must trust, because you must trust in yourself that you can make it happen and be persistent. And most of all, realize that the reward is worth the effort, even if you can't see that reward immediately. And one of the changes you might go through during this process is a change in the people that you associate with. Once you become more enlightened and present and conscious of yourself and start to achieve the control of your internal environment, the chaos that goes on around you, as I said, should become more insignificant. But there are people out there that you might associate with now who are going to question your new approach to life and question why you're doing all this stuff. It's not necessary, or it's complete BS. Those are the people you might have to start shedding if you're really going to achieve the change that you set out to do. Okay? You cannot look at them as allies anymore if they're going to be hampering your efforts to achieve real change. Surrounding yourself with people who are supportive of your dreams and the process you are going through will allow you to accelerate the process because you're getting positive reinforcement from them, and that will help you to rewire your subconscious and make the changes more quickly. You owe no explanation to anyone who you shed during this process. It is only by choosing your friends wisely and finding the people who are supportive of your journey that can make the journey more beneficial and easier in the long run. That isn't cool, that's not hurtful, it's productive and it's necessary. And as I said in my last video, any positive change that you want to make in your life is going to require belief in yourself, which basically comes down to faith. Building that faith will build your persistence. It will allow you to concentrate when you don't see immediate results. But again, remembering that the reward is worth the effort, and you will see that reward when you come out on the other side. It's important to remember that the subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between an experience that's happening or something that is generated in your external environment and an experience that you generate in your mind by visualizing it or by feeling it or by raising your vibration, a manufactured emotion that you place in your own mind and visualize a favorable outcome. The subconscious mind does not know the difference between the two. So use that as your power. Use that daily as your power to sit and meditate and visualize and train your brain to think that you have already experienced the positive outcome that you seek. And then your mind and your body will gradually begin to rewire to live as if you have already achieved whatever you are seeking. So let's say the external environment generates an emotion in you, which is usually reinforcing the same emotion that was generated in you, as I said, years and years ago. But if you have developed now the discipline to catch yourself when that triggering event happens, and you have the new vision and the ability to trust the process, then you're able to shorten the period by which you become triggered by that emotion that used to knock you way off your course for days or weeks at a time. And then you can stop that emotion in its tracks and see it for what it is. And that is the beginning of the rewiring of your subconscious. And that is one small victory. And if you keep on catching yourself like that, you have continual victories adding up. And that's positive reinforcement for yourself. And that is the foundation for continued progress. And your vibration will not be lowered by the triggering event because you recover from it more quickly. And that becomes now your default mindset becomes one of achievement and a body that's used to and a mind that is used to living in a state where you have already achieved everything that you are wishing for. That is the foundation for truly rewiring your subconscious without getting stuck, without feeling like it's never going to happen. The key is the persistence and the faith, and that for me is what trust the process means. Thank you all for listening. I hope that you get something positive out of this. That is always my intent. I wish everyone peace, happiness, and prosperity. Like, comment, and subscribe, of course. I look forward to comments and conversations. Have yourself a great day.